Yo, what's up everyone, Boy here, back with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about if I wrote Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. Now, I know we have had some updates regarding this movie, but I'm just going to go over how I would have written it. I'm going to disregard all that we've been given, and I'm just going to talk about how I would have handled this film. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So I know the official leak, well, I don't know if it's official or not, but it's rumored that it will be a multiversal story set between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. I do not want that. I want it to be set before Avengers Doomsday, as set up Peter Parker for not only the 2 upcoming Avengers movies, but also for the future of the MCU. And after the multiversal chaos, I think we can unanimously agree that it needs to be a street level story, just Peter Parker fighting in New York. Over the years, we've seen Tom Holland Spider-Man going to space, going to the Washington DC, going to Europe, going to Germany, going to and multiversal chaos through all that. No, I just want a simple New York story where he's just fighting crime and that. And speaking of the ending of No Way Home, we need to honor that ending where he was forgotten. Peter Parker was forgotten by everyone. He lost his entire identity. So we do not bring back Ned Leeds and MJ as the best friends and the love interest respectively. They're great characters, don't get me wrong, but it would just feel wrong. So I think he does need new friends. And the final thing I want to talk about is the villains. There's good and bad regarding the hypothetical villains. First of all, Sony have said that Marvel can't use certain villains that they've already used, which does kind of suck because we won't get to see some of our favourite villains fighting Tom Holland Spider-Man. Also, we think, because multiversal crossover and that. But yeah, and but it's also a good thing because Spider-Man has many unique rogues gallery. I mean, parts of his rogues gallery. I mean, he has arguably the second best rogues gallery in fiction, aside from Batman, of course. And well, that seems to be the approach that the MCU Spider-Man trilogy has been taken. Well, the MCU Spider-Man series rather has been taking with the villains that Tom Holland Spider-Man faces. For example, we saw Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming and Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home, and we've also been introduced to many other villains from the comics into the MCU. For example, Prowler, Scorpion, among others. So yeah, with all that done, I thought I can give my pre-write for Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. I can't wait to show you guys what I've done. With everything I've talked about, it is time to present my pre-write for Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. Spider-Man Way Back Home. Let's go. After losing his identity, Peter Parker is forced to start over as he is struggling to balance his college responsibilities. He takes a job at the Daily Bugle to pay for his rent, tuition, and other expenses. All the while, Peter continues his role as friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, stopping small-scale crimes, but a far more dangerous threat is on the horizon. Peter first learns of this threat when Matt Murdock reaches out to him for help. Wilson Fisk is now running for mayor of New York, spreading corruption across the city. To take him down, Spider-Man teams up with Daredevil. With the help of his new friends Miles Morales and Felicia Hardy, either his colleagues at the Bugle or his classmates, Peter confronts his deadliest challenge yet. In a bid to eliminate Spider-Man, Fisk forms the Sinister Six, a group of supervillains dedicated to hunting down and killing the Web-Slinger. The team includes Vulture, Shocker, and Scorpion, all of whom have been seeking revenge on Spider-Man since 2017. Prowler, recruited by Fisk, adds further firepower to the team. However, the greatest danger when Matt Gargan bonds with the Venom symbiote, transforming him into a deadlier version of Venom. The Sinister Six is completed by Mr. Negative, Martin Lee, the leader of Feast after the death of Aunt May, and the Tinkerer equips the team with advanced suits and weaponry. When the Sinister Six is funded by Wilson Fisk and led by symbiote enhanced Matt Gargan, Venom, Peter faces his deadliest challenge yet. The battle against these powerful enemies forces Peter to relive the traumatic events of Spider-Man No Home, all the while juggling his college responsibilities, job, and of course his responsibilities as Spider-Man. So now I think I'm ready to give you guys the full structure of how I would structure this hypothetical movie. Let's go. So I'm thinking Act 1 will reintroduce Peter Parker's Spider-Man to the big screen. We'll be introduced to him in Who's Got College, his job at the Daily Bugle. I mean, as I already mentioned, we'll also be introduced to his new friends, Miles Morales and Felicia Hardy. As for castings, Miles Morales, I tossed around a few names. I'm thinking maybe Caleb McLaughlin could do it, and also Jonathan Davis. We don't need that younger a Miles Morales. I mean, he could be a tiny bit younger than Peter, because obviously he was introduced in Spider-Man Homecoming, which takes place in 2017. The only reason why Spider-Man's now 17 or 18 is because of the whole time skip. Like, I'm not sure if Miles was blipped in that time. Rather, he just grew up. I imagine him being around 7 years old in Homecoming, so now he'd probably be closer to Peter Parker's age. So yeah, those are some pretty good picks. As for Black Cat, I heard Sydney Sweeney is probably the top pick to play Black Cat, and I do see it. I do see it. I mean, she could almost have this Ryan Reynolds effect, where it was a crap Green Lantern, amazing Deadpool, crap Spider-Girl, amazing Black Cat. I've also seen some other names be thrown out. I've seen Madeline Klein, Anya Taylor-Joy, all be thrown into the mix, and honestly, I do see them in the roles, all of which work. For the sake of this video, I will just say Sydney Sweeney because she's most likely. Definitely not for another reason. And then we'll also be introduced to Wilson Fisk and the power he possesses. Like, hypothetically, this takes place after the events of Daredevil Born Again. Now, obviously, as of the time of the recording, Daredevil Born Again is not out yet, so we don't know how Kingpin will behave in regards to being mayor of New York City. I doubt they'll take him down in Daredevil Born Again, and thus he'll be like a more imposing threat, almost all Thanos to street level Marvel heroes. Act 2, I'm thinking Wilson Fisk now learns of Spider-Man, and he knows that he can't take on Spider-Man and Daredevil by himself, meaning the Sinister Six is formed. We're then introduced to the first of the member of the Sinister Six, none other than Michael Keaton's Vulture, Adrian Toomes. Now, Michael Keaton as the Vulture is one of my favourite Marvel villains to date. I think he's actually my favourite live-action Spider-Man villain. Michael Keaton in the role is just a goated casting. He's super underrated. Homecoming as a whole is just underrated. And speaking of Homecoming villains, Shocker will also be on the team, as well as Scorpion, Matt Gargan. Now, Michael Mando is gonna reprise his role, hypothetically. And I've heard about symbiotes being a part of this film, and yeah, in the comics, Matt Gargan was the host for the Venom symbiote, so I'm thinking he could be the MCU's Venom. He could come back as like the quote-unquote Scorpion back in like an upcoming Spider-Man movie, but for the sake of this movie, he will be Venom. And yeah, I mean, I've heard some people say maybe we could get Harry Osborn or another Eddie Brock. I don't think it would work in the MCU setting. And then we're introduced to Prowler. I imagine him being recruited by Wilson Fisk himself, and yeah, Donald Glover will come back to play the character. Then we're introduced to Tinkerer, who was also in Homecoming, and then we'll have Mr. Negative, who has never appeared in live action. I think he'd be a good fit because after Aunt May died in No Way Home, Feast needs a new leader. And as for casting, I think I have the perfect Mr. Negative casting, none other than Stephen Yeun. You guys may know him from stuff like The Walking Dead or the voice of Mark Grayson in Invincible, and he was actually set to play Sentry in the upcoming Thunderbolts film. But he did pull out the role, but he did say he doesn't want another MCU role. I think he would be perfect for Mr. Negative. And then we get to see, anyways, throughout this like Act 2, we do get to see Spider-Man fighting some of these villains individually, but not a full Sinister Six battle yet. Meanwhile, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, will almost use like detective type fighting skills to take on Kingpin himself. Now, the way I imagine Daredevil, he's almost like Marvel's Batman, so he will have like a street level detective type of fighting, and then this is how I imagine Batman taking on someone like Carmine Falcone, really tying into the political side of superhero films. And and the third plot, like, I do imagine in this act, Spider-Man's dynamic with Matt Murdock, Felicia Hardy, and Miles Morales respectively will strengthen. We'll see him and Matt being like partners in crime, fighting. His like romantic relationship with Felicia blossoming, and his dynamic with Miles Morales. He's not inherently best friends. I think they kind of fall out in this act. Like, he's kind of lost one of his closest friends, especially after everything he's been through, because Miles starts to suspect that he is Spider-Man. So we've got three overarching plots, the first of which will be Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six, the second of which will be Daredevil versus Kingpin, in like we've seen in like the Daredevil Born Again show. Well, no, I mean like the original Daredevil show, and what I want to see in Daredevil Born Again. And then the third will be Miles Morales investigating the Spider-Bites, because Miles will start to suspect that Peter is Spider-Man. This act will be very interesting. moving on to Act 3 with everything. Like, Spider-Man, like, Kingpin is, well, I mean, Daredevil will be hot on Kingpin's trail. Spider-Man will still be fighting off the Sinister Six, whilst also battling the effects of losing Miles Morales, and then we will have a full Sinister Six battle with Spider-Man taking on every member of the Sinister Six at once, almost reminiscent of what we get in No Way Home. And then maybe Daredevil will join him in said fight, but at some point during the battle, Spider-Man sees Daredevil taking on Kingpin, and he goes to help. And then we'll almost get, and the final battle will be Spider-Man and Daredevil taking on Kingpin. And it'll almost be reminiscent of the Cap and Bucky versus Tony fight at the end of Captain America Civil War, like a 2v1. However, I do not want Kingpin to be fully defeated. And then, moving on to the post-credit scene. Now, there will be 2 of 3, one of which I'm definitely having is the TVA seeing Peter Parker. I mean, they will recruit Peter Parker to face off against a multiversal level threat. Most likely Doctor Doom with what we've been given. But they could be planning something with Kang. I don't know if Kang's door is fully closed. There might be something planned. But yeah, for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say it's to face off against Doctor Doom, because he will be like a threat in both Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And then I've also got 2 other options. Whichever one I don't choose, I will ideally have at the start of Avengers Secret Wars. The first of which is Miles Morales figuring out the spider. Like, I imagine the spider bite being from Stark Industries, so maybe as he was discovering said spider bite, he figured it was in Stark Industries, and then he gets bitten by the same spider, giving him Miles Morales powers. Now, Spider-Man powers. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, you want Peter and Miles to be Spider-Man together. I do too, but I'm gonna take inspiration from the Insomniac games and not give Miles powers yet. We're gonna have him just be the best friend, almost the way Ned was in the Home trilogy. And then the other one will be, I mean, I am going to have Scorpion lose the symbiote in this movie. I mean, when he comes back, he will just be the Scorpion as opposed to Venom. This time, the symbiote will find Peter Parker and then will make him the new host of the symbiote. And that will set him up for Avengers Secret Wars. So yeah, that is my pre-write for Spider-Man 4. In this case, Spider-Man Way Back Home. That is the end. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesome LEGO videos. Goodbye.